and I felt at home in that meeting yesterday.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So you're based in London, right, David?
Yeah, I'm down in Tooting.
Okay. I went on yesterday and liked a couple of your things with. So are you now Ubuntu or David Collins Counseling?
David Collins Coaching is
Coaching, right.
Yeah, so I've got in the UK there's the Ubuntu Academy of Coaching KIC, which is a community interest company. And
Right.
then there's David Collins Coaching, which is my own private practice.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah. And the structure of a KIC is it's really needs to the governance there is it needs to be to benefit community. Yeah. It's yeah. So it's not a charity. Um it's run like a company, but the board of trustees need to make sure the governance of it is it benefits the man on the street, the community, as opposed to shareholder value. As in,
Right.
so it's a commercial operation, but not for shareholders.
Got you. I would like to join one of these communities. So
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many, but I would like to connect under the banner of UACT.
Okay.
So which one would you recommend?
Well, you're here already.
Okay, cool, nice.
This is it. So you're part of the campus. Are you on the Maui app?
Yes, I've got the Maui app, but I'm doing my studies through the new one.
Yeah, okay. So well, there's the self-study platform on Teachable. Morning, Paul.
Good morning. Good morning,
Morning,
everybody.
Delra. Where's everyone today?
Morning, David. How's it, everyone?
Oh, good. People are starting to coming in. Okay, meet Richard.
Hi, Powell, Delray, Nikki.
Morning, Richard.
Is it another day in paradise, Powell?
It's sunny, yeah. I'm in Sicily, Italy.
Okay, interesting. Hi, Nikki.
Beautiful.
Nikki, we can't hear you.
Really?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
I was like,
now.
oh, here we go.
Okay, so Paul's in Sicily, Nikki's in Bali, Delray's in South Africa, Richard's in the UK, as am I. And let's see, who's coming in now? Did everyone go to the other Zoom room? I wonder.
No, Leanne made it very clear in her communication that we need to come onto your link today.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Leanne's very clear in her communication. The trouble is people don't read her communication.
Delray, where are you in South Africa?
I'm from Cape Town, but I'm in Johannesburg at the moment.
Okay, I'm from Johannesburg for 2 decades and then Cape Town Table View for 8 years. And now
Yes,
England.
I was in Table View as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morning, Damien.
Good morning.
Have I seen you on this class before? I can't remember.
No, you haven't. I started coming last week.
Okay, great. So there's a bit of an amalgamation going. Okay. I can dance with that. And then Gemma's joining us. Great. Hello, Gemma. All right, we'll just give it a couple of minutes for people to join. But just for the record, I was here at 5:02. Yeah. Just for the record. Like I was taught if you arrive early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, that's unacceptable. But that's my
I take offense to that, David.
yeah, that's okay. That's my value system. And who was that? Was that Stuart? Okay,
Yes,
cool.
and it's unacceptable.
Because I've just been late, yes. Excuse me.
Oh, okay. All right. So in your offendedness, is that a feeling of anger or shame or both?
More frustration rather than anger.
Okay, so frustration's a type of anger, yeah?
Yeah.
What's behind the frustration?
A very busy bureaucratic morning.
Okay, so that's the justification. What's the feeling behind it?
Relief that I'm here.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
It's the feeling
So
behind
joy.
the frustration. The feeling behind the frustration is the fact that I got up early to go to a government department just so that I could be in time back. And as I got there, the system went down, true style South Africa. So
Okay.
that's the feeling behind the frustration. Sorry.
Okay, so welcome Richard and Damien. This training is structured quite different in the sense that we're moving kind of along in a more linear style. So who can tell me what week we're in, just so I can orientate myself?
It's 7 or 8.
7 or
7.
8?
Oh, no.
I thought it was 8 or 9. That I was waiting for someone else.
Okay,
It's actually week 7, David.
week 7. Great.
Yes,
Okay.
it's week 7 right now.
All right, good. So you should have all received the content. You should have started going through the content. You should understand the framework of the coaching conversation. Yep, and which would be the first 4 classes, and then we'll be coming to the end of the continuums and moving towards the system. Then it's the 4Q leadership model, and then creating the container. Yep, and those are the 5 modules over the 20 weeks, and that would complete your classroom hours of 40 hours. So even this training, we're looking at a continuum. Yeah. So there should be a good understanding of the creating the container here in the conversation. So what's the first thing we do?
Check in.
We check in.
Would you like to kick it off, Nikki?
Sure. Nikki, depleted. British, knackered.
British knackered, depleted. I like
see.
that.
Damien,
Damien, ready to go. Pavel,
Happy to be here. Ricky,
I'm feeling energized this morning. And Gemma. I said Gemma. I don't know if Gemma's gone.
Yeah, she's looking for the mute.
Okay.
Level 2 listening, reading the body language. I would say she's going, where the fuck's the mute button on this one? There
Good
we
morning.
go.
How did you get that, David? That was. I'm Gemma. I'm feeling content, and I'm going to tap Richard.
Hi, I'm Richard, and I am feeling passionate. Oops. Del Rey.
Good morning. Physically, I'm feeling flat, but I'm actually quite excited to be here with everyone today. And Stuart.
How's it, everyone? As I said, I am feeling relieved. And David, I think you're the last one. How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you. So, welcome everyone. I'm feeling. I have my anxiety of just trying to manage the chaos of containers and teaching and orientation and all that. And then I have some anger, um, which is about the difficulties of working in the addiction industry, for want of a better word. The population can be quite difficult at times, and managing that in a professional way while staying ethical and in line with the organizational values and all that is difficult at times. And just essentially, we're a public benefit organization which is governed by a board of trustees, which basically means that I am responsible for the trust deed, which basically means that everyone will benefit from this. So it's like public health. So we need to bring everyone along. Whereas the private industry can be quite exclusive for the people that can pay for treatment, yeah, or be part of that. And the history of addiction treatment kind of is very much rooted in 12-step stuff as well. And then you throw all that into a mix, it can get quite disorientating. For me personally, in the many different roles I have. So sorry for the long check-in, Stuart. I'm just trying to ground myself to the contract. Okay, so we're here to coach for 20 weeks with delivering the training and the skill set. There's certain models that we have to do, and the way that we deliver them here is through the process and practice of the theory. Does that make sense? So I'm very pleased Richard and Damien have joined, and I'm just kind of managing. Oh fuck! I hope everyone else is okay with it, because groups can form, and often the group doesn't like the chaos of it. Yeah, and so, for example, Western way of thinking and teaching is often class starts here, we go here, we end there. It's very kind of, whereas when you're trying to do that in Africa and different people have different challenges, like getting to the classroom, there's transport, there's load shedding, there's, in that context, you better be able to facilitate in a way that welcomes people when they arrive. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Yeah. And when we are working with the populations that is coming from a culture of addiction, their life is chaotic. And they might arrive late, they might not, and we need to kind of be okay with that as well. So just to give you an example, Leanne is very clear with her communication, which Delray said. And Delray reads the communication and knows that Leanne's very clear with the communication, everything. Yep. And my experience is lots of people don't read the communication and then they still fucking complain, even though we've got everything in place. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if we go to today's container and the continuums. The 4 continuums are, the first one's use, misuse, abuse, and dependence. The second one is addiction, harm reduction, abstinence. The third one is codependence, interdependent, and independent. And then the fourth one is high well-being, premature death. and we use the coaching conversation to listen. Yep, that's the first symbols, to listen. And then we start to look and see where the client is at. And if I look at this container in terms of a continuum of here's the roadmap and where we should be, yep, and what we should learn, I can gauge, okay, this class is moving along the continuum that we're meant to be. Making sense? Okay. And I know Damien's is over halfway because he's in a different independent stream, yeah. So it's great to have you here, Damien. And Richard's just joined. Yeah, this is your second class, Richard.
Second class here, and I've finished module 1.
Right. Good. Okay. So before we kick off, was there any homework? Is there any accountability from last week? Because you're always wanting to forward the action and deepen the learning. So was there any homework from last week? Yes, there was homework.
There was, David. I actually wasn't on last week. Something came up, but Leanne asked us to look over the percentages of dependence versus problem drug use, and then to review the stages of the change model and motivational interviewing, and to study your continuum section and watch your videos.
Wow, that's a lot of homework. Okay, Nikki, I can see your lips curling there. What was in the curl of your lip?
Oh, I didn't write down all of them. The curl was like yes, and then it was like ooh, which I missed part 1 of that. Will you say the first one again before motivational interviewing? What did you say? There was one portion of it.
She asked us to look at that SCHLAG. Is it SCHLAG 2020? The percentages. She just asked us to review the problem drug use versus the dependence. I don't know.
Did you review it, Dora?
I've read over everything. I didn't get through all your videos, David.
No, that's fine. I'm not worried. I'm just curious around what you learned from doing the homework.
I can't even remember the percentage. I didn't write anything down.
All right, so let's go another way. Why do you think that part of the homework was important?
Because she found it interesting, or like I'm saying, I wasn't online last week, okay? So I'm just saying from her post that she found it interesting, the percentage of problem drug use versus dependence.
Okay, great. So we've got that continuum of use, then it becomes problematic, and then it becomes dependent. Yep. Ricky, you got your hand up?
David, she talked about the percentages in terms of 32% people recover, 32% relapse and recover, and then 33% never recover. So you've got those percentages that she talked about last week. And yeah, she talked about abstinence as well. Yeah, interdependence. Yeah, and I did a bit of research myself, and yeah, it really helped.
And what did you discover?
Well, when you're in recovery, okay, like I'm talking for myself. When I was in recovery, and I'm still in recovery, I look at myself that it's up to me. Do I still want to continue to be in recovery? Or, you know, like what happened 2 weeks ago on my birthday, I had a drink, okay, celebrate my 50th birthday. And I came back and I said, yes, I did have a drink. And I came back and I said, but I'm not continuing with having a drink. I'm not going back to that habit. So which means that is yes, I did relapse for that reason, and I'm going back. I'm still in recovery, still very. So it made sense to me exactly what you were trying to say. It made sense.
So let's keep this conversation going.
So she was also talking about the percentages in the context of different approaches and the different drugs. You know, the addictive versus the not, or highly addictive, like a heroin or a cocaine versus a marijuana or an alcohol, and how addiction takes a very long time to take physical hold, and what was the other thing? Yeah, physical hold, and I suppose that there is hope in the percentages. But it's oh yeah, she was talking about it as well in the context of the continuums and sticking in your wheelhouse. Like, don't talk about things that are outside. I mean, if you don't don't diagnose your client with a mental health disorder, leave it up to the mental health or disorder professionals. Don't talk about the prescription medicine. Leanne shared maybe, even though that she is very knowledgeable about the psychiatric drugs, etc., she doesn't, prescribe or share them. And so that's kind of the context of where that the percentage of recovery comes from.
Okay, so let's keep going with this conversation. I think there's valuable learning here. And just before we do that, one of our beliefs is there's multiple pathways to recovery. Yeah, so recovery is different for everyone. I would say is that a philosophical belief, Stuart? Would that be correct? Would you call that?
I suppose a philosophical belief, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
That there's different approaches, yeah.
Yeah. So there's multiple pathways, and recovery comes from the individual. So the individual decides what recovery is, as opposed to somebody saying this person's in recovery, they've got a good recovery. So it's about giving the individual agency in this culture of recovery around wellness, what that means for that individual. Okay, so what's happened for Ricky? Yep, he's saying I had a drink 2 weeks ago at my birthday, and I'm still in recovery. Did I say Richie? I think I meant Ricky. If somebody was an opiate user, they were using heroin, and then they start taking methadone, and then they start to say they're in recovery. Yeah, that's up to that individual to say that from a recovery coaching perspective. Making sense? Okay. I tread carefully here because it can cause political landmines. Okay. Richard?
What I found very interesting about this schlag is part where it talks about the large proportion of people in society consume illicit drugs. Only a minority of these use drugs in a problematic manner. And it goes on to say that the negative representations and stigmatizing terminology can directly impact clinical care. So it kind of opened up my awareness of what I think addiction is, linked to because it's no longer for me linked to whether I'm taking that drug or that drink. And the language that I use around it is important, I believe. So that's what I found very interesting in that. Yeah.
Stuart?
I've got it's kind of a question and a comment around the continuums, and one of the things that has kind of struck me around it is the different time frames and how the continuums impact on time frames of kind of what that ideal life of what the client wants that ideal life to look like, you know, if they are in the throes of a particularly bad day and they can literally only think about tomorrow, then your time frame is not about, you know, independence or interdependence. It's not about like the long-term health. It's about, okay, cool, how do I survive today? And that's kind of like I am having to kind of reflect on myself, because my natural inclination is, okay, cool, let's go long term. Like, what do you want your life to look like on your deathbed? But sometimes, you know, sometimes you need the just one spoon analogy. Then it's like for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's like if you I suffer from ADD, and so I really struggle to start things. They become big tasks, and so then, you know, you've got a dishwasher to fill, and so instead of filling the whole dishwasher, you just do the one spoon, and that's, you know, that's a step in the right direction. And so sometimes like the time frames around that, like the continuums, and how I've had to think about them as like, okay, cool, like this is the high level framework, but what does the client need right now? Like, you know, maybe they just need to move, you know, within I don't know, use, right? They need to move within use, from high use to low use. They're not in addiction. They're not in, you know, they're not in abuse, or they're not in health, and they're not in, you know what I mean, right? It's the time frame is something quite interesting to kind of consider around it, you know, and yeah, and what the client needs.
So the point is no, that's great. So the point is we put the agency on the individual, on the person that's sitting with us. Yeah. So what do you think? What do you feel? And we really try and self-manage our own feelings. Yeah. So if someone comes to me and says they're shooting heroin and smoking crack, but they're in recovery, I'm going to struggle with that personally. Yeah. And I'm going to go, oh, that's interesting. But inside I'm going, Jesus Christ, this fucking blood. Do you know? And that's going to yeah, I mean, the first thing I need to do is kind of just manage myself in the response to that. Did I make sense there? Yeah. And this is where I'm always going to defer to Nikki, if that's okay, Nikki, just from the disordered eating perspective. Yep. Nikki has to, and her clientele need to form a healthy relationship with drugs, where food is the drug. Yeah. And that is a very different what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. I mean, that would be helpful for us that are coming from a complete abstinent background to just have some appreciation of what it must be like in the disordered eating world. Does that make sense?
It's a transformatory approach rather than like an exercise, like in the 12 steps where they say, you know, like you remove your character defects rather than transform it. Like the example of kind of what that you've just spoken about. Excuse me, Nikki, if I'm talking beyond my station here. You know, it's you've got to form a healthy. You still need to eat. It wasn't healthy. Now you need to transform that behavior to something healthy rather than, you know, rather than remove it. You can't remove it. It's a transformative approach rather than a excising or a abstinence, I suppose, is the opposite.
Okay. So let's just take a pause here and let's just step back. And we're working with a client. Yep. You're working and you're having a coaching conversation, and you're aware of all the external recovery capital that's available for that person, and just start to engage. So just to give you a case study, so the The client was a black male businessman that gave me a phone call on a Monday and said, I need to talk to you. I need to meet you. And we need to meet at Rosebank Mall, which is in Johannesburg. And we need to meet at a restaurant. And I'd just come back from India and I was in my flip-flops and a t-shirt and shorts, and I went to this meeting, and there was this affluent businessman, black businessman, and straight away I thought, oh my God, this guy's going to think I'm not professional. Anyway, we sit down and we start talking about what recovery coaching is and what the problem is. And the first things he really stressed was, do not speak to my wife about this. Don't speak to anyone about this. Yep. And he wanted to talk about his problem gambling. So the goal of the first session is to get the client to come for the second session. And so that was achieved. In the second session, he came and he met me at the clinic. And I'd just come from Investec, which is a bank. And I'd been coaching there and I was dressed up in my suit. And as soon as I walked into the room, the guy said to me, I don't trust you. I said, what? And he said to me, I've got people like you selling me shit every day. Yep, I don't trust you. Okay. So what was actually going on here? This wasn't about the problem gambling. This was more about trust. Yep. And the fear that this man was having. Hello, sister. How are you? No, you just muted. You were unmuted. So just hit it. There we go.
Good morning, everyone. I'm good. I've been away for quite a few weeks. Sometimes when I want to join, there's an admission coming in, so I ended up not joining. So I'm good. I'm checking in, excited to be in the session today.
Right. It's lovely to have you here. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I'm just talking about doing a case study. Yep. And the reason I always use this study is because there's the masculine component. Yep. There's the racial component. There's the gambling component. Yep. And this has got nothing to do with drugs. Yep. And so to explore the relationship he had with gambling a bit more is he wanted to do harm reduction. He wanted to do controlled gambling because he loved going home on the way home to the casino and gambling. Yep, and he had one machine that he would go to and he would put money in that machine. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, fuck, this isn't going to work. But okay, what are we going to do? Let's come up with a budget and everything. So he set up a budget for himself and he went off and then did his gambling. And then the next week he came to see me. And the question was, so how did it go? And what do you think happened? He won. He won. His which kind of blew me out the water a bit. It's like, oh fuck, this guy's successful gambling now. And in the meantime, his wife phoned the clinic and wanted to speak to the social worker and lodged a complaint because I was encouraging her husband to gamble. And do we know what we're doing and how unprofessional are we and all this sort of stuff. And I had to say to the social worker, listen, there's a trust issue here. There's a relationship issue here. And I'm not prepared to kind of break that because first of all, it's out of the coaching agreement. And this is what's going on. The fourth week he came, he said to me, You know what I've realized? It doesn't matter if I win or lose. I just don't want to go home. I've got a relationship problem. And then the fifth session, he came back and started to work on his relationship. And then he said to me, his words were, I'm fucking pissed off with you. You've made me go to those Gambler Anonymous meetings. And at the sixth session, we checked out and finished, and he went off to GA. And he went on to become a board director of Tsogo Sun and SAB. So Tsogo Sun is a big casino resort a consortium in South Africa, and SAB is with the biggest brewers of alcohol. So this guy in his recovery went off and took a board position there, and his own recovery was intact. Yeah. And he knows I share this, but it's a great example of working with someone in a coaching perspective, meeting them where they're at and going on the journey with them. Yep. And what I find fascinating is my own internal dialogue. So the fact that I showed up in flip-flops and like I've just come off the beach actually built trust. Yeah. The fact that I let him gamble, yeah, kind of gave him more agency and the space to kind of realize that he needed to work on his marriage. I wasn't prescriptive in any way. And what I like about that is it's got nothing to do with drugs. So it's got nothing to do whether someone's smoking marijuana or heroin or cocaine or alcohol. It's just like, this is what addiction is and how he moved into a culture of recovery and wellness. But it's difficult. I was being paid to manage my own stuff and to say, I don't know. And when you've got an executive there saying, what must I do? And all that sort of thing, to sit there and say, well, I don't know. What do you think? What are you going to do? Is a skill set that it's a professional skill set that deserves remuneration. Which is a fancy way of saying it's fucking hard work. And to hold that space within the treatment environment and the chaos environment and the stats and the this and the law and the morals and all that sort of stuff can be hard.
David,
Damien,
can I ask a question, please?
You may ask another question, yes.
No, this is my first question.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, okay. You're too clever for me. Yes, please. So thinking about the skill set, I thought was a nice segue into my question. When I was looking at the stages of change as part of my homework,
right.
And motivational interviewing. So actually, your case study may be quite a good case in point. It wasn't clear to me what motivational interviewing is, and I wondered if you might be able to share some examples or bring to light what this technique of motivational interviewing looks like in moving people through those stages of change.
So very crudely, motivational interviewing is essentially meeting the client where they're at and rolling with the resistance that they bring. So motivational interviewing was actually developed by a South African guy as well, and somebody else, I think in the 80s. And basically, when someone comes to you and they have a drinking problem, yep, and they're unaware of their drinking problem, you engage with them in a way that doesn't confront the drinking, but what's around it. So, for example, in this case here, okay, of course you haven't got a gambling problem. Yeah, you've got the stress of work, or of course, like the world you work in is kind of filled with kind of racist white salesmen that are trying to hoodwink you. Of course, so it's rolling with the resistance, meeting people where they're. Of course, your wife's giving you a hard time. Yep. And then building rapport around that. And once you build rapport, the client kind of then comes to the realization that their addiction is impacting all those areas of life. Yep. Of course, the drink driving laws are inappropriate. The fact that you've been arrested 5 times for driving under the influence, yes, I know the law is wrong, and yeah. But what part do you think maybe drinking alcohol and driving is like, what's the, well, I needed to do that because the pub's down the road. Yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, of course you need to drive. If only there was better public transport. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because and I think the thinking is everyone kind of comes in and has been given advice and told what to do. Yeah. But the person hasn't actually given the space to kind of work it out themselves. I'm not sure if I mean I've just impulsively said that. Just trying to think if I agree with that, but yeah, but motivational interviewing is a great technique of kind of rolling with resistance. Does anyone else want to add around motivational interviewing?
Hi, David.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So, David, this week, right, on Monday, no, on Sunday evening, I woke up and I said to myself that I need to tell my story, my life story, to everybody. So what I did is I started writing my life story from the beginning to when I was born until my present day, what I've gone through and my road to addiction, and then coming out of addiction and into recovery. And when I posted it to all my friends, I think I also shared it with you. I don't know if you've read it.
Yes, I did read it.
Yes. And, you know, the different reviews and the different comments I was getting from people, you know, I built a container now where people were asking me questions now. How did you get out of it? How did you survive? How did, you know, we didn't know. And, you know, it touched me so much because people didn't understand exactly what I was going through. But what it taught me is out there, a lot of people have got so much that they're carrying in their heart, what they're going through, and the longer they keep it inside, it bursts out. And when it bursts out, this is what leads you to addiction. It leads you, you know, to depending on a certain substance for you to actually numb that pain that you've gone through. And I'm going to share my life story with everybody. I mean, if everybody gives me their numbers and their WhatsApp numbers and everything, I will share that. And I also want them to comment that if somebody was to come in and share this with you, and how would you coach them? How would you do that? And if everybody gives me their number, and then I'll send you over my life story. And I did that in rehab, but I decided to take it now to the world. Say, this is me. This is what happened to me, and this is where I am right now.
So taking your story to the world, Yep. How is that helpful in your recovery? And how's it helpful for you being a student here learning about recovery coaching?
Well, the thing is, right, it's a mixed bag, okay? Because the reason I took it out there was I only shared this story because I was here. And now I'm sharing it all to my friends, my family, the closest people that were around me. And the things I've learned from my journey, I would also want to coach people that are in that certain space and help them out and motivate them. And, you know, that's what I want to do. That is what I want to do. Because
And as you kind of come in and out of the picture, I can see you kind of standing there as a motivational speaker, giving your testimony, talking to the congregation and going, and this is me, and yes, and this and that, and yeah, and don't do this, and don't, like, you're passionate about this. You want the world to know your story. Yeah?
yes, I do. I want the world to know my story and the mistakes I also made in my journey,
Okay.
in my story. That's the most important thing, right?
And who is your audience?
Well, I had family, I had friends, I had business associates. I mean, I had everybody that has been part of my life in my journey.
Yeah.
Everybody. And I'm talking even my children, and my children didn't know. I mean, there's a whole lot of people that didn't know, and
so Dad's got up there and kind of shared his story and laid himself out to the world, and everyone's going to have an opinion and some sort of reaction to your story. Yeah. Okay. And just to bring context to what we're doing here, we are being trained, yep, in recovery coaching and how to share our lived experience in a way that's going to be beneficial for our client. Yeah. It's not about sharing our story in a way and then our client, like, this is what I did, you must do it this way. Yeah. And your work as a professional coach is going to get more curious about other people's stories. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It does make sense, David. It really does make sense. It does make sense.
And the path you've gone on, yep, is you went to a treatment center, which was a 12-step Minnesota model-based treatment center.
Yes.
Which is in the affluent realm. Would that be correct? Yeah.
100%, David. Yes.
Yep. And their ethos, yep, is 12-step abstinence. You've got a disease, you can never drink again. And they've spoken to you about that. They've spoken to your family about it. And when you've come out in the euphoria of recovery and sharing your stuff and wanting to, like, oh my God, I didn't understand. And my brother, he died of this. And in my culture, they don't talk about this. And we need to get this out to the churches and things like that. And celebrating your 50th birthday and having a drink on your 50th birthday, then there's a huge culture clash between ethoses. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And one of the projections that'll come onto us, yep, as a coaching school is heresy. Like, you can't be teaching that stuff. You can't tell someone they've got the agency for themselves. It goes against the book. Am I making sense here?
No, you're making sense, David.
Yeah. Okay. So we're about the 8th class in. Yes. We're moving along a continuum. Yeah. And Gemma, I would be very interested if you could share some of your experience, because you work with Project Six, yes?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and you really meet people kind of where they're at on the street or wherever with where they're still kind of using, help bring them into kind of help them with housing, help them with things like that, sharing bits of your story and supporting them in their journey towards harm reduction.
Yeah, so we're linked. We're basically we're Project Six, so we're the ARC, but then we are also linked with Lightwise, which if someone is in recovery but they are still using in an effect, as in if they are using safely or if they are on a reduced drinking structured routine, then they would be under Lightwise, but they can still come to our meetings, they can still come and access our services. The main people that we have are in recovery, so they're abstinent from substance use. But obviously we have the two different bases, so where they can they might be still actively using, but they're doing it safely, so they're under Lightwise, or they may not be ready for recovery yet. So we make sure that they are safe while they're still using. So that would be under Lightwise, as whereas we are recovery, as in don't touch it anymore. But we do get a lot of conflict because some people will come and they can be still using and say that they are in recovery, but yeah, they're not quite ready to make the changes. Yeah, it can be quite tricky at times.
It's very tricky at times.
Yeah,
And this is where you use coaching as a skill set to develop the culture and to keep it in a place of wellness where the individual has agency.
Yeah, and they're just about getting different services involved so that they are safe. Obviously, we've seen people come to us that have lost their homes, their families, the jobs, everything. So then it's a matter of getting different services involved, signposting them to them areas, giving them key workers, recovery coaches, obviously, interacting in the services, buddying systems. One thing that I learned last week from Leanne's is that, and it stuck really well with me, is that, if someone is not ready for recovery, then they're not ready. And it does take them, it can take them several times to keep coming back, keep trying, and they fall, and then they keep coming back, and they can't quite grasp it. And that made a lot of sense to me, that you can't cure everybody. They've got to be in the right place at the right time. They've got to want to do it themselves. You can't just do it for them. So that for me really, really did hit home last week when we were covering that subject. And I think now I've got a different outlook on it, because when you come into this industry, you do want to correct everybody. And I think because as well, if you're so passionate about it yourself, and you want the best for others, and if they're not ready, they're not ready. Yeah.
Thanks, Gemma. So another continuum I want to kind of put in there is one in the workplace where
Bless you.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I didn't have time to mute.
Bless you.
So there's a continuum of someone who's got lived experience. Yeah, they're kind of in treatment. They then become a volunteer or an ambassador. Then they move into peer recovery, where they kind of signpost people to external recovery capital. They become a recovery coach, where they're now coaching someone who's kind of a bit more stable in their recovery, whatever that looks like. So now what do you want to do around work, career, housing, education, that sort of stuff, to recover all those different roles that they have, father, son, employer, whatever. And then you move to systemic wellness practitioner, where somebody's using recovery coaching as a skill set within their organization. Like Sister Chuma here is a nurse working in a clinic, and she uses coaching as a skill set to enhance her professional role as a team member in a multidisciplinary team, building rapport with the individual clients and working with the therapeutic team and all the professionals to stop things like splitting and things that happen with within this environment.
What do you mean by splitting, David?
So splitting is where I'm going to say the disease comes in. Yep. And all the role players start arguing amongst themselves, and the person that's got the illness gets away with it. Yep. So the example is my son comes to me and says, Dad, can I go to the movies? And I say, I don't know, ask your mum. And then my son goes to my wife and says, Dad says, can I go to the movie? Dad says I can go to the movies. Can you give me some money? Yep. Then he gets money from his mum. He goes off to the movies, and then I'll say, "Well, where's Luca?" And the mum will say, "Well, I've sent him to the movies." And I say, "Well, what do you mean you sent him to the movies?" Da, 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 da. You always give in, you give it, and then mum and dad start fighting. Yeah, and splitting happens a lot in organizations, and how it works in the clinic is the patients behave like children, and then they get the professionals to behave like parents, and they start to argue amongst themselves. Yeah. So Sister Chuma, on being a night nurse, the patients need to hand in their cell phones. Yep, it's part of, you get to contact your family once a day, and then we'll find a patient with a cell phone. Yep, she'll confront them, and then the patient will say, but my counselor said I could have the phone because I've got an urgent call that I'm expecting from my husband who's taken the kids to school. And then this patient's got their cell phone and they're sitting in the house, and then the house goes, but how come she's got a cell phone? I've got a cell phone. And the next fucking thing, everyone in the house is arguing. And then the therapeutic go, well, why did you give them the cell phone? Because you said, and then the whole environment goes into a culture of adversity or a culture of addiction. Was that example helpful? Yeah.
Thanks, David.
Cool. All right. Should we take a 8-minute break? Do we still have smokers here? Yes. Smoking's so 2010.
I've cut down.
I'll go for an
cut
8-minute break.
Are you on harm reduction, Delray?
Yeah, but no,
Okay.
seriously, David, I was on about 10. I made it to like 10 a day. And now if I have one every 2-3 days, it's cool.
Okay.
It's just when it hits me, and I just,
So are you an ex-smoker now?
yes.
Okay, great. So you're an
Almost.
ex-smoker that smokes every 2 days. Did you see the body language? Yes. Well, almost. It's like, oh, perfect example. And that's where the stages of change model comes from, actually, is for nicotine addiction. All right, so let's come back at 5 past.
All right, David. See you at 5 o'clock. Oh yes. Oh, I didn't get you. Actually, the way you're expressing yourself, I can actually see you speaking to a congregation. Yeah. That's the head coach there on the club. Yeah, so the way you're standing up and you're standing good, I forgot the video on. You could see. No, that's more Oh, yeah. That's the I want Oh, okay. Jimbo?
David, I've decided I'm addicted to what they call in England red bush.
Oh, rooibos.
Yeah, rooibos. It's a placebo. It calms me down.
I also drink red bush tea here in the UK at night.
First time I saw it, have you seen all of these South African shops yet?
No.
They sell all over the place. They sell biltong and
Yeah,
rooibos.
I've seen biltong, and I'm just not prepared to pay what they charge.
Yeah, but you can get knickknacks and cream soda and the chocolates, all imported. It's all brought in here by the container load.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Right, let's kick off. Let's go. So, when I said kick off, I didn't mean drop off. Richard hung up. Okay. So let's Paul, do you want to start the check-in?
Yes, I'm feeling grateful and calm. Stuart.
Okay, choose someone else.
Okay, so
Oh, you're on your phone, yeah.
Damian. Damian.
Yep, so Damian's also not here. Go with Delray.
Delray, please.
Thanks, Pavel. I'm checking in grounded and I will tag Richard.
I am checking in happy and focused. Nikki.
Thanks, Richard. Nikki, bothered. Gemma.
Tagging in focus, and I'm gonna go for Stuart.
Distracted. I'm not sure who has gone yet because I came back late. So who hasn't gone? Sorry.
Try Damien.
Damien?
Hi, sorry, I'm just I'm checking in as flustered.
Flustered. Okay, I know Sister Trim is with seeing a patient, and yeah. So Nikki, I'm curious about your bothered.
Okay, so glad you asked. Thanks. There's a lot of I really struggle with the burning. There is a lot of burning of trash in the area where I am, and it's the primary reason why I don't come to this part of Bali anymore. It's not just like the burning of the rice fields. That's necessary. This is trash, plastic burning, and it like seeps into the room, and it just like creates this acidity that goes on top of my physical acidity. Anyway, you did not expect this long of an answer, but you're getting one. It's very bothersome. Like I'm on the scooter driving home, I'm inhaling smoke, right? And then I get home for like some respite and I'm inhaling more smoke inside. So that's that.
Okay, so first of all, I'm so relieved that's what it is, and it's not here. My self-centeredness goes off, and oh my God, I hope we haven't upset her. So when you say I'm bothered with the trash, there's a relief inside me that goes, oh, it's not about me, which isn't very helpful, but I just wanted to kind of bust that. Yeah, so thanks for letting us know. Okay. How's the container been for you this morning? What's the wisdom here for you, if anything?
Oh, a lot. I'd never heard the term splitting. And you know what came to mind when I was thinking about it is like parts work came to mind because I think of all the players that are inside my head on any given day, and a lot of times they're not on the same page, most times.
Great. Great. All right, so let's build on the splitting side of things. So let me just draw a quick whiteboard. And do you know, is it Eric Burns? Parent, adult, child. And these are ego states. And you get two types of parents. You get a critical parent or a nurturing parent. And then you get a rebellious child and then an adaptive child. And in organizations, when it comes to leadership and management and the workers, you'll often get this sort of relationship. Yep. So you'll get a boss that's critical, and then you'll get the workers that are rebellious, or you'll get a boss that's like a nurturing parent with the rebellious children, or a nurturing parent with adaptive children. Yep. So for me as a leader, I'll go into work, and then people will be there and go, "Oh, please, won't you come to work today? Oh, it's so nice of you. Thank you for coming. Yes, can I do anything to help?" I'm very nurturing in my leadership. Yep. And then when it comes to working with staff, yep, they can either be very accommodating, yep, or rebellious. Yep. So one of the challenges I first had when I started the rehab was I employed a lot of my sponsees. Yeah. So I was in the sponsor-sponsee relationship. And when it came to running the business like a business, the business role would impact the sponsor-sponsee role. And in my sponsor-sponsee role, I was either a nurturing parent and they were full of shit. And what you're trying to do is in organizations is to get to adult. Let me try this in a different color. Let's try red. Trying to get adult to adult type relationship. So in the coaching space, we're working with adults and we're holding, so I'm speaking to you as an adult and I'm going to hold you in the space of an adult. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so this sort of behavior, the dysfunctional behavior can create splitting in a team or a family or whatever. Yeah. So it's Eric Burns's ego states work. And that's just something that we need to be aware of. So when someone when we coach people, I mean, a lot of people, therapists or counsel, or people working in this space can fall into the area of being a nurturing parent. Yeah. And
Sorry,
take
David.
Pardon?
I apologize. Sorry. Just the under child. It was rebellious child, and then the A.
Adaptive child.
Adaptive. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's adaptive child or there's nurturing. I can't remember now, but it'll be in the notes. Yeah. And this is just a very tiny section of a whole field of work. Huh? But I think it comes from Eric Burns' ego states, and I think the book originally was Games People Play, or I'm okay, you're okay, or I'm okay, you're not okay, or I'm not okay, you're not okay, or I'm not okay and you're okay. Something. Have I got it right, Stuart?
I don't know. I was just thinking maybe you could draw a matrix, David. You know,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
well, that is exactly it in the book.
Okay.
And like, so I'm okay, you're not okay. Yeah, and
I think it's called "I'm okay, you're okay." It's
yeah,
transactional. It's transactional analysis
there we go. Transactional. It's the
is the
TA stuff.
therapeutic modality of transactional analysis.
Thank you. That's where it is. There we go. I got it all. So yeah, that's and once you become aware of splitting and power dynamics, you can see it everywhere. You know, from the fucking kebab shop where you go and get your kebab on a Friday night to AA meetings, to the office space, to the treatment centers, to you know, and yeah, it's something that so in the therapeutic space, we're trying to have the therapeutic team be adult and show up in their role. So people need to arrive at work on time. They need to start groups on time. People have a role and a position within the organization. And the patients need to be held as grown-up adult patients that are there to get better. But because the culture of addiction is so chaotic, a lot of the past, yeah. So for example, going to bed every time at the same time every night for children creates a sense of security. But kids kick off around that. Yeah, they're constantly rebelling around that sort of stuff. And so it does create a sense of security and safety when people know where the boundaries are. If there are no boundaries, it's like there's no kind of containment. The other challenge is if you have too many boundaries, it becomes too much. And then you can get people that become institutionalized and they can't operate in the outside world. And you can find that with a lot of people that say work in the corporate space, like investment banking, and they work 12 hours a day and they do that for 30 years and then they come out and now they need to go off and like retire and they're so kind of institutionalized that they don't know how to do that. They're so used to like kind of getting up at 5 in the morning, going to gym, doing this, doing that, working that um yeah, and I mean when those people come into treatment, also it's yeah. Anyway, enough of that. I hope I
So,
answered the question.
I
Yes, Stuart.
I wanted to give someone a chance to who asked Delro to see if the question was answered.
Nikki, I asked Nikki.
David, have you found that people who are institutionalized in what you're describing, how does that affect the way that they approach coaching? Are they typically more kind of inclined towards heavy rule-based systems of recovery? Are they more inclined towards having a difficulty with finding out who and what they want and who they are and where they're going in life? I mean, how does that kind of on a practical level, like in your experience, what does that kind of result in time in terms of kind of how they approach recovery in general? The kind of the institutionalized, very lax versus very rigid.
So it's dependent on the individual, and each different culture and environment's very, very different. Yeah. So if you get someone that's kind of come out of jail and to integrate back into society, it's going to be very difficult if you don't have any structure and things in place for that person because they're so used to being told, do this, do that, here, lights out, room locked. Yeah, and or people that are in the army, it's very regimented. Yeah. You know, but different people come from different areas. One of the challenges here in the UK is the NHS system, and everyone is so used to free healthcare and getting it. There's a real kind of like, I got to see a doctor for this, and I got to, there's it overloads the system with a whole lot of people like demanding treatment when they don't actually need to see a doctor. Does that make sense?
Sure.
They actually just need someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Del Rey?
I wanted to say, just in reply to Stuart's question, yeah, I find myself feeling institutionalized the last time I was working at a rehab. And it's very difficult to get into my own like structure and routine when I'm out, because I throw my whole identity into what I'm doing. And I do follow those rigid lines and rules. And yeah, so it's sure, it's really difficult.
And people that come from that sort of environment and then come to our clinic, there's a bit of a culture clash because they're so used to be that. So now they're in an environment where that doesn't happen. That can be traumatic as well. Having someone like say to you, well, I don't know, what do you want to do, can be quite difficult for people that have been so used to being told what they must do. Where did you go where were you involved in treatment, Del Rey, if I may ask?
I did treatment, and then I worked for a year at Diamond.
Oh, okay. All right. And from what I know, that is quite 12-step based.
Very, yeah. It's
Very
not
12.
it's not terrible, because I've been to other places which were horrible. But yeah, but there are rules, and
Yeah. No, there needs to be rules.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's and I mean, one of those rules are going to be complete abstinence. Yeah. Yeah. Complete abstinence, disease concept, Minnesota model. Yeah. Okay. Which people will say is the most successful form of treatment. Based on research, it's the most successful form of treatment, which just isn't true. I mean, I would say Islam is the most successful form of treatment when it comes to abstinence from alcohol. Yeah, I mean, there's a faith, but like, yeah. So it gets very, I'm going to say political. It can become a very charged environment where people start to stand their ground and their education around it. So I'll see it with patients when you do case management, where you have a whole lot of different therapists that all have been trained in different modalities. Yep, and they're talking about the patient, and then the counselors or the therapists or the psychiatrists, they all start arguing from their perspective of what needs to happen. Yeah. And then actually you've just need to step back and look, okay, well, the whole therapeutic team's not aligned and fighting amongst themselves. Because they say, my way is right. If only the patient listened to if only they did CBT, or if only they did got in touch with their mother wound, or if only they EMDR, CBT, DBT. Fuck. How about you just listen to them and tell them to fucking pull themselves together? If you want to fucking take drugs, go and take drugs. Stop blaming your mum and robbing from her. Go support your own addiction. Oh, I feel quite charged. How's the training going?
I'm loving it.
Right, well, if on a percentage feedback, that was pretty dismal. If we only got 1%. I'm loving it, and it's the newcomer who's just kind of, you know.
I'm enjoying it, David. I'm actually enjoying it. I can actually relate to what you're saying and what everybody's saying exactly in terms of the different experiences and rehab and different treatments, that type of thing. I'm actually relating to it. I am, and I'm enjoying the session.
Yeah, Ricky, do you want to check in? Because the last time we did the check-in, you weren't here.
I'm still feeling energized. I am.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Good.
I was gonna say I like talking about multiple different topics. I mean, I came in really, really tired, and it's either the green tea or that's keeping me really engaged. So I like covering like different things. I don't know.
So
Also,
work's been kind of all over the place, like fucking.
maybe it's just today, but I kind of like it. I like this. It's like a sample pack.
Yeah, great. Okay, that's good. That's good.
I feel like it's like a falling rain model. The rain is falling, and some of it hits the right bits, and some of it lands on the roof and disappears. But there's a lot to take in, and I'm absorbing a lot. What keeps coming up for me in the sessions recently is how much at this point I feel like I want to put some of this into practice. So in some practice sessions, which if anyone on the group is interested in doing some reciprocal half-hour sessions, I'd love that. And B, when I hear you, David, talk about your vast experience in the field, I feel very, very hungry to get my own experience. And my ambition here, as you know, is to set up a private practice and work with private clients. But I'm also beginning to wonder whether it might be useful for me to have some experience within an organization as well, and which is something I've been a bit like, yeah, I'm not sure about working in a rehab, but maybe it would be useful to understand some of the institutional sides of it. That's what's coming up for me a lot in these sessions, is my own conscious incompetence, my own feeling like I'm on the edge of a seashore and I want to dive in.
Great. So Damien, I love the way you use the metaphor, yeah, with the rain, yeah, and some of it falling and some of it. Metaphor is a great way of linking left brain and right brain thinking. The left brain thinking has the ability to look into the future, make a decision in the present based on the past, when right brain thinking processes what's going on in the moment. So I'm sitting here, I'm talking, I can feel there's an excitement in my chest. I'm foaming at the mouth here. I'm like, I can feel my body is like, yeah, excited. And if I was the rainmaker, yeah, I need to. That's a great metaphor for me to kind of find out. Okay, so where's the rain landing on the village? So if we're a village and we're all here to learn. Yeah, where's the rain landing, and where do we need to capture some of that rain and water different areas? Yeah. So also at this part of the training as well, we're looking at the brain and the mind and getting triggered and activated, all that sort of stuff as well. So this is good. I think this container's moving along nicely. Anyone else want to add anything? Paul, how's it in Sicily?
Yeah, the weather is nice here in Sicily. I'm absorbing all of the information, and my mind is just analyzing how can I use it, and maybe changing the perspective of what I thought before to what you are saying. So it's interesting. It is like a rain. Something it's hitting, something it's not hitting, but yeah, I find it very interesting, the whole discussion.
And if I'm correct, you work with the youth.
Yeah, so I ran an addiction center for a few years as a owner of the addiction center here in Sicily, and right now we are organizing camps for children in need. So children anywhere between 12 and 18 years old. They come to Sicily for 1 week. Most of them, as we find out, they already have problems with addiction. So they would come from orphanages, from some specific educational centers, and they would have yoga, meditation here, and as well as working with therapists on emotions, because they cannot really relate to the emotions, and then so we talk a lot about that the emotions are okay, that suffering is okay as well, but on the other hand we also want them to see a little bit out, because there are children coming from Poland and they never would fly a plane before, and they wouldn't have a dinner in a restaurant, eating pizza. So it's all of that is very kind of exciting for them as well.
Oh, it's exciting for me as you tell the story.
Yeah, we did 4 camps. So 4 camps here last year, and then in May we will have the first one, and then in June the second one. So I'm excited as well, because they're very grateful for what they get, and then and I think like in the children, like that's the most potential, because as I was working with the addiction people, like it's very it's hard, like I probably do not agree with the percentages which we are getting, that the ones I had in mind, this was maybe 15-20% of the people, they have prolonged abstinence, the rest relapse. But I mean, we get all the different percentages, depends on what kind of addictions we're looking for, probably countries and so on. But with the kids, you can actually make a big difference, because you can show them what's dangerous, what's not, which ways to go, which ways don't go. And I think that's why it's very rewarding for me to work with them.
Okay. So also where statistics come. So if you're working with a very kind of high concentrate of people with terminal cancer, you're going to get a very poor recovery rate. Yeah. So these are also, statistics are a very kind of dangerous thing to kind of go down. Somebody told me a statistic several years ago, and they said, 80% of families in the United States are dysfunctional. And then I thought, what? 80%? Well, surely then if 80% like that, surely then that's normal. So surely that behavior is normal behavior. If like, and yeah. And the statistic I used to banter a lot was only 3% of heroin addicts recover, and I'm going to be one of those 3%. And I used it in a way to tie into my narcissism of being special and different, and look at me and how I'm fighting this disease and I'm not going to recover, and fucking. That was when I was a 12-step Nazi recovery person. And like, I get so embarrassed when I look at myself. like 20, 30 years ago and how I was. I think, oh my God, I was so unconsciously incompetent, but feeling that I was so competent because, yeah, it's humbling that.
Can I say though, like I think that that's okay. like you know, if my defects, as they would call it in 12 steps, get me through another day, like if my pride and ego in my clean time get me through another day of recovery, then that's great. And then at some point, hopefully, I stop being such a self-righteous dick. But you know, like at some point, but like, but that stage in my journey has been really helpful for me. Yeah. So well done you, David, for being, you know, part of the 3%.
Yeah, so I heard in a meeting once somebody we were talking about step 7, and they said, you know, sometimes my defects of character are God's way of helping somebody else, and they'll only be removed when God doesn't need them anymore. I sat and thought with that, that's an interesting justification. But, yeah. Like I'm being a dick because if it wasn't helpful for you, then God would have removed it. Okay. Uka, my third wife, when I met her, I was 4 years in recovery, clean in recovery, and I met her she came to a meeting as part of a hospital and institutions. They get let out to go to a meeting, and I shared at this meeting, and I saw her there, and I went up to her after the meeting, and I said, "You're going to have my children one day." And so I ran off with this newcomer, and she was using, and oh God, it was a bloody nightmare. But we ended up getting married and having kids, and she started a school and has helped thousands of, well, not thousands, but hundreds of kids, and we've created a lot of good in the world. Yeah. And the life that she kind of came from, I mean, she was done for attempted murder. Her boyfriend was beating her up, tried to drown her in a bath. It was like, you know, and had I kind of not stepped in and kind of made things, you know, like she got into recovery. It's a lot of people had a lot of opinions around my behavior. So my defects in character were alive and well there, and yeah. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Has Gemma fallen asleep? Oh, that's sweet. Okay. Luckily, she's muted just in case she started to snore. I do a morning group and we meet at 6 o'clock, and one of the people phoned in from a bed and we could just hear her partner snoring in the background. And I said, "Do you mind muting so we don't hear the snoring?" Technology is a very different thing as well in if you want to look at kind of therapeutic boundaries and where you meet people and how you see clients and all this. It's personally, I love it. Okay, so we're coming up for the last 20 minutes. We need to check out. What are some of the learnings that we're taking away? Hello, Gemma, you back? Did somebody wake you up in your house?
Sorry, I'm back. I'm here.
That's great. No problem. I've got to say, I feel really warm in my heart that you were able to kind of doze off and just still be in the container. I mean it. It for me it feels like You know, it feels very inclusive and loving and caring. Yeah. As opposed to falling asleep in class and then the teacher throws the whiteboard cleaner at you, the board duster. God, I hated school. Oh. Okay, so what are we learning about continuums today? Let's capture some learnings. Who wants to go first? Delray, there we go. Good. Thanks for volunteering.
I wasn't expecting that at all. Okay.
I know.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. I actually wrote down a few things that Stuart said about time frames. And then David, you mentioned focusing on the client. That's where the main focus is. And then the splitting. And I'm definitely gonna go and look up this this Eric Burns thing with the parents and the adult and the child. But I need to do a lot more work. I need to watch your videos on the continuums and stuff. I haven't done so yet, so yeah, I'm a little bit behind.
Okay, who are you tagging?
I will tag Gemma before she falls asleep again.
No, she's still there.
Thanks, Delray. Yeah, I'm learning lots. I'm going to look into what we've covered today and recap over it again. Yeah, I've not really got much to say really. I'm liking everything about the course. It's making me being more aware about myself as well and what's required in helping others in recovery coaching. Yeah, lots of information to take in. And I will tag Nikki.
Thanks. You know when you can just feel it coming? Yeah, I was like, she's gonna say Nikki. I think what's interesting is like I have 0% to give today, and in that really empty space, a lot of some really interesting epiphanies came into my mind, and it was based on what we were talking about, but like I just started writing furiously like different approaches to coaching in the space of eating disorders, because you can come at it from like a where are you at in your recovery, or like a different aspect you want to work on. But the thing that I keep replaying in my mind from last week with Leanne, and then also is really letting the client or coachee define what they want, and as little as possible to let, I think of the set aside prayer. I use that a lot, and this is like to set aside everything I think I know, and like in this context I would say to set aside all of my preconceptions and everything, and like to go in with a clean slate and allow them to craft whatever it is that they want, the direction and the tenets and the, you know, obviously like the container and the everything. Easier said than done, but it's a good reminder. So I guess just, I don't know, it was interesting because I was such an empty, hollow shell I felt, and then like a lot of things came in that space. So I'm grateful for that. Stuart.
Thank you. It's always funny to see people who you felt like an empty shell. I feel like my cup overfloweth all the time with ideas and words. I'd love to be silent and quiet. Okay, cool. So what I've taken out of today, so the thing that you were talking about just before we started this, David, around like, you know, your lived experience and your wife and how everyone kind of had a lot to say about it versus the image of all of the clinicians or all of the professionals arguing about a client. And I think it kind of like, for me, that's the entire theme, is that like everyone is on their own journey and we just kind of here to guide. And that's very scary for me because it means like letting go of control and letting go of a vested interest and maybe a little bit of ego of, you know, wanting things to succeed and to show that I can actually do it and that I'm good enough. And so, yeah, that's it's about letting go. And I mean, I suppose we talk about it with frapping, right? That's what frapping is all about. It's let the client do what they need to do. And you're just a tour guide. But it's that for me, that is a scary thing. Cool. I will tag who hasn't gone. Ricky.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much, David, for the session today. I really learned a lot. I love your coaching skills. And yeah, and I love when Leanne has got her own different style. You got your own different style. And, you know, I love the way that I'm capturing both styles every single week. So I thank you for that. And yeah, I'll dig down deeper into what has been, what I've learned today. I'll do some revision on it. And yeah, thank you. I'm still feeling energized, actually. I am. Thank you.
Did he take someone?
Who can I tag? I'll tag Damien. Have you got it?
Great. Thank you, Ricky. I'm feeling motivated at the end of the class. I'm always feeling motivated at the end of the class, and then I do not do as much work in the week as I imagine I will do. And I don't know what happens there every single time. You know, I'm like, right, great. There's so much to do, and I've got stuff, and you know, and I've got to do the modules, and then I don't know, like my week isn't even that busy. It's quite busy. I don't know. I think. Anyway, so I'm sort of just saying all this, and I can see some nodding and some smiling and some identification, and that's nice. But maybe by saying it out loud, I will dig deep and do some more. I mean, you know, I have a part-time job at the moment, which is great, and it's quite physical, and actually that's good. And I have a dog to look after, and then other than that, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So anyway, but I'm feeling. I was ill. Justification. I was ill, and I'm not ill anymore, and so yeah. I've got a lot to do. I'm almost at the end of module 2, so I haven't really got into the continuums yet, which you know was kind of the homework. So I'm not really there yet, but I'm still digging into the kind of coaching skills and techniques, and I'm looking forward to putting some of that into practice in some practice sessions with some of you guys. So that's great. And Delray, I don't think you've been, so I'll pass over. Did you go? So Richard.
Thanks, Damien. I'm checking out with a sense of ease because I've learned a lot on this session, and I've come to understand about motivational interviewing, which has broadened my thinking. So I found that incredibly helpful. And yeah, if I can join these groups and pick up 1 or 2 or 3 things that's part of my learning curve, this is the best way that I study, is listening and listening to experiences, etc. So very grateful for today. I took a telephone call from a doctor a little while ago, so I was off for a bit. So I'm not sure who has not checked out. Whoever hasn't, please come in, I suppose. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're not checking out yet, we're just kind of capturing what we've learned.
Got you. Yes. So that's...
Oh.
Okay, I go. So I found really interesting today the technique you mentioned, which was developed in 80s in South Africa, by not telling people exactly that they have a problem, but letting them, I mean, just going around and letting them discover that they have a problem. I think I was using that in a way, but I couldn't name it. But also I feel I feel a little bit I guess confused because I'm 8 years sober almost, and people would always, I mean, people would often come to me seeking an advice and asking me to help them. And my approach before was actually to give them advice. I mean, you should be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, and I believed strongly that some things, if they are done, they will help with recovery. But now, first of all, I understood on my own that everybody has their own way to recovery. For some people, might be yoga, meditation, breathing. For some people, might be walking or some other things. And we are not really in the position to tell people what to do to get better. And I understand that now, and I didn't understand that just like a few months ago. And it's in line with what we are doing here as recovery coaches. But I also in my head find it difficult. Okay, so how am I? Because before I told people what to do, and now I am about to let them discover on their own what's the best for them to do, and that I guess creates a little bit of confusion for me of how to put everything together. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. Dore, you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say that I'm not like commending and like whatever, but commenting on you know, when Nikki spoke about being Roshi, what did she check in when we came back?
Bothered.
You were bothered, yes, you were bothered. And it just brought up a huge thing for me, because when we did when I did the adult learning module, just bringing authentic agendas to the coaching session instead of like role playing. And I find it very difficult to be honest, like with a check-in, or like, you know, or make it sound better than what it is. Like I really find it very difficult. Like I search for words. I'll even look on a friggin' thesaurus for stuff. Like so yeah, so like Nikki just saying, oh, she's bothered, and then she spoke about this burning plastic and whatever, and I just felt that it was so authentic, you know, and she was just talking about her real situation. And I'm just saying, I find it difficult to do that. So I'm definitely going to work on that. Thank you.
So what's great about that, Delray, is the modeling. So the way somebody kind of checks in, expresses their authentic self, I can learn, oh, that's how you respond to a situation. Oh, that's how you talk about anger, which is kind of not fucking fury, but it's kind of bothered and it's on its way to, you know, it's that is really a great, healthy modeling of how to express emotions for somebody like me. That's when somebody expresses anger. I was taught, grew up in an environment where anger was expressed in a violent, abusive way. So when I see anger coming up, I get incredible anxiety because I think violence is going to erupt. So when I can see Nikki express anger in a very healthy, mature, open way, I learn how to do that myself. Does that make sense? But when she did say, I'm bothered, it did trigger that anxiety in me of like, oh my God, have I done something wrong? Am I going to get shouted at? Am I felt like have I fucked up? And my anxiety comes into the container, into the room. So thank you for that. And this is why it's so important for us to come together and do the process of recovery coaching. Like we can do the theory, some people read it, some people don't. We can do the practice. Some people say they're going to practice and then don't get round to it. Not to dig at you, Damien. But then the actual process of it. Just to Damien's point, yeah? What could we be doing better to get students to work and practice with each other? Is there anything that we could do better, Damien?
Sorry, it always takes me a while to find my mute button.
No problem.
No, not particularly. I mean, I've only joined this class last week for the first time because I've started working with Leanne to start the certification process.
Great.
Okay, for everyone else's benefit, I've done about 24 hours now of working on the Tuesday morning, which is more of a kind of process community of practice. So in some ways, I've only really been about a week or so into saying, right, okay, come on, we're doing this now. This is my focus. So I don't feel like I've been sitting on this for a while. It was Leanne who suggested to me that that I do practice sessions within the community before I start trying to find external clients as a trainee, to build up some hours and some confidence. So that's why I kind of put it out there. So in some ways, I know I feel like you and Leanne have given me everything I need to get on with it. It's just about now my own motivation and perhaps allocating time. You know, like you know, I allocate time to my part-time job. I'm given my rota, and then I need to then allocate time to this course and everything I need to do to get certified. You know, maybe schedule it. Maybe that's going to be a good thing for me. Because like Stuart, I suffer a bit from the old ADD thing where.
So feel free to reach out to each other on the Maoni chat if you want details, and then if you want to, I see some people have sent WhatsApp numbers in the chat there. And likewise, if the students here would like to attend on a Tuesday morning, I'm happy for you guys to come along to the community of practice as well to get more hours and to, So, great stuff. Stuart, do you want to say what you want to say and then start the checkout?
Yeah, thanks, David. Just on the kind of the contacting of who's available. I think a suggestion from me would be I don't know, potentially like a pin board on Maui. I don't know what the functionality is on Maui and SpeakApp, but like a pin board of, okay, cool, I am looking for students. You know, within here, there's one group, but I understand that Maui is a whole community. And so, it's better to have, in my view, to have as much experience of diversity as possible. And so the wider we can cast that net, the better. And in that way as well, it also works with it works like real life, right? So I've got a part-time job and I'm going to the shops on Thursday morning. So when can I schedule it? Okay, cool. 2:00 on a Thursday. It kind of puts that kind of real life experience into practice as well, of kind of working with patients, finding the time and all of the rest of it. So it's really just about visibility that I'm asking for.
So please use our platform. We're using the platform to create the ecosystem of coaches and professionals. And the more you guys communicate through the platform, it's going to be better for us as well in terms of containing. And those of you that are going to go into professional practices, there are all sorts of things like data protection, EMD encryption, and all, which our own app covers. Yep. So when we're communicating inside the ecosystem, it meets all those requirements. WhatsApp groups and things like that can be a bit leaky. So yeah. So I check out with Joy. I have to jump at 11, so I'm going to leave you all to check out. I'm just going to quickly allocate Nikki as host, just because she's in my top right left-hand corner, and that's the easiest place. I'll see you all next week, in 2 weeks' time, and then I'll see you on Tuesday morning, in this Zoom room. It starts at what time UK time? 10 o'clock UK time.
10.
9.
Oh, is it 9 o'clock UK time?
9, yes.
No, Tuesday.
is
Tuesday
10.
starts at 10 o'clock UK time.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yep. Gotcha. Sorry. Yep.
Okay, gotta go. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Am I supposed to say something? We're checking out. Okay. Who wants to start? Gemma, you want to start?
Thanks, Nikki. Checking out with fatigue. I look forward to seeing you all next week. I'll tag Richard.
Thanks, Gemma. I'm checking out with excitement to connect with some of you and practice coaching techniques and just, to connect. So very excited. Thank you. Stuart.
Thank you, Richard. I am checking out with Inspired. I will go to Damien.
Thank you. I'm checking out with Gratitude. I'm really glad I found this group. And Del Rey.
I'm checking out Feeling More Optimistic. And I will tag Pavel.
I'm feeling calm. I'm feeling calm. Thank you, Del Rey. I tag Nikki.
Nikki, feeling, I don't know, sleepy. I feel like I could pass out. Pressure. I feel the pressure from being tired. Okay. Thanks, guys. See you next week.